Hi, everyone. This is your host, Kristen Howe, with Manifest Everything Now, discovering the secrets to effortless manifestation. And I would like to welcome you to our call with today's guest, Noah St. John. Noah is known worldwide as the Abundant Lifestyle Authority. He's the best-selling author of 9 books that have been translated into 10 languages around the world. He's appeared in over 2,000 media outlets, including CNN, ABC, NBC, NPR, Women's Day, The Washington Post, and Parade Magazine. And this call with Noah today is going to be amazing. His energy is fantastic. On the call with him, you will discover his proven formula to think like a millionaire in less than 5 minutes a day. You'll discover how to instantly turn negative beliefs into positive habits and start creating a more abundant lifestyle. You'll find out why so many people feel stuck in their lives and business and what you can do about it. You'll discover the difference between the inner game and the outer game of success, and you'll learn what it really means to live an abundant lifestyle. So, Noah, I'm so excited. I can't wait to get going. Thank you so much for joining us today, and welcome to the call.
Well, thank you, Kristen. I'm thrilled to be here.
I can't wait to share everything, and I know people are like, oh, wait, turn negative beliefs into positive habits and get unstuck and all of that stuff. So we will get there, everyone. But first I want, Noah, if you could share a couple minutes with us, maybe share with us some of your turnarounds. We're talking about Manifest Everything Now, so maybe some of the things that you experienced in your life where you tapped into what it meant to start really manifesting things you desire in your life.
Well, that is a great question, Kristen, because I get asked that a lot. How did you become the Abundant Lifestyle Authority? You must have gone with a silver spoon in your mouth or something. And I'm like, no, I don't think we even had a spoon. So it definitely wasn't silver. I actually had the interesting experience of growing up poor in a rich neighborhood. And what I mean by that is I grew up in a little town called Kennebunkport, Maine, which is actually one of the wealthiest communities in New England. But my family was dirt poor, and I mean that literally. We lived at the bottom of a dirt road in an unfinished home, and I remember that my parents just argued all the time about money and the fact that they didn't have any. I remember one time I was about 9 years old, and I went up to my mom, and I said, Mom, how come you and Dad are always arguing about money, and why do we always have to eat macaroni and cheese? It was one of those things. And she said, we're always fighting about money because there's not enough money coming in. And I said, well, but why not? You and Dad are always working all the time. It was very confusing, Kristen, because, my parents worked really, really hard and worked all the time. And yet, so I asked a logical question, which is, well, why isn't there enough money? That's how kids think. It doesn't make any sense. And I don't think she knew how to answer that question. So what she did was she took out the family checkbook and showed me the money that was coming in and going out. And sure enough, there was more months left at the end of the money. And so I made 2 decisions when she did that. And I know she did it very innocently. I don't think she was, she just really didn't know how to answer the question that I was asking her. So when she did that, I made 2 decisions. The first decision was I decided I'm not going to want anything. I'm going to not ask for things from my parents because I don't want to be a burden to my family. Again, I'm sure my mother, that was not her intention, I'm sure. But that's what happened. And then the second decision that I made, which really shaped my life, was I decided to make something of my life. I wanted to be successful. I didn't want to have that life of lack and fear and poverty, even though that's all I had ever known. So I went to the library and I just started reading books about how do you become successful? What does that mean? And certainly how do you do it? Because, I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have anybody I could talk to. So I just had books. And so I studied all the classics of self-help literature, all the classics that we know and love. And so over time I just started to read and study and just really think about it. And then I had a series of epiphanies, really, just realizations after about 20 years of studying this and starting to apply it in my own life. And I started teaching people about these very subtle distinctions, but that really make a huge difference. And, we'll be talking about some of those things today. And what happened was my clients and people that I was just telling these things to, they started to get incredible results. Like amazing life-changing results in their lives. And then they started to tell their friends, and they told their friends, and really that's how the whole thing started. It really started kind of by accident. But that's how I, became this abundant lifestyle authority. And as you mentioned, I've got several books out. I have a new book coming out. It's just really exciting, and it's just such a thrill to be able to share this work with people around the world.
Well, and it's such a thrill to have you here, and you've got such a positive energy. I just love how you share everything, and you've got such a great sense of humor. It really makes all of this stuff that sometimes can feel so heavy feel really light, and I appreciate that. So actually, let's talk about that, because one of the things that feels heaviest to people is negative beliefs. I mean, even saying it, I'm like, negative beliefs. And you say that we can instantly turn negative beliefs into positive habits. And that, obviously, positive habits are going to start, helping us create and manifest a more abundant lifestyle. So how do we do that? Because we all know we have them, but we don't necessarily know what to do with them.
Right, exactly. Right? Well, okay, so I want to give you two pictures, and you notice, for folks who maybe haven't heard me before, I talk a lot in pictures because the human mind works in pictures. You remember things in pictures. And so I want to give you two pictures that are really critical to understand about you and about your behavior, your habits, your thinking. So the first picture is what I call the scales of success. Now, I want you to picture a balance, like a courtroom scale, with the two plates, one on either side of the central fulcrum. So on one hand, I want you to think about what I call why-tos. Now, these are your perceived benefits of doing something. And then on the other hand, or the other side, the other plate, is called your why-not-tos. You have your why-tos and your why-not-tos. So what that means is any time you're thinking of making a decision or doing something in your life, what you do is you weigh the why-tos or the perceived benefits of doing something against the perceived why-not-tos of doing that thing. For example, why are you listening to this program right now? Why are you listening to this series? Well, the answer is because you perceive that there's more benefits or why-tos of doing so than costs or why-not-tos of doing so. So anything that you do and everything that you do is actually gone through this weighted process. And so what happens, though, is that there's another part of the human brain going on, and that's what we refer to as the conscious and the subconscious. So think about it like this. Imagine that the brain is like an iceberg, and about 5% of your thoughts, behaviors, and habits are conscious, at the conscious level. This is scientific, by the way. This isn't mumbo-jumbo. This is scientifically proven by studies at Stanford and Harvard, MIT, and all these universities are showing that only about 5, maybe 10% of our thoughts, behaviors, and habits are conscious. The vast 95% are in the subconscious. So what happens is we think we're making these conscious decisions as we go through life, but most of our decisions, most of our habits are really driven by things that are in the subconscious, hidden below the surface. So just like the iceberg, if something is hidden below the surface, you can't see it, which makes it very, very hard to change. So what happens is when you put those two things together, the why-tos and why-not-tos, the conscious and the subconscious, what we see is that your why-tos of success are in the conscious mind. That means everyone wants to succeed. Everyone wants to make more money, have more vacations, have your own island in the Caribbean, whatever success means, to lose weight, to have a happy relationship, find your soulmate, write your first book, or become a best-selling author, whatever your definition of success is. We all want that on the conscious level. But what I often ask my coaching clients and my mastermind students, Kristen, is I ask them a question that's a little unexpected. And I ask them this question: have you ever stopped to think about what could be a why not to of success? A why not to of actually allowing yourself to succeed? And people think about it for a minute and they go, wow, I've never thought about that before. I never thought about what could be a cost of allowing myself to succeed. And when you think about it like that, and then I ask them to go a little deeper, they say things like, well, it's going to take too much time. It's too hard. What if people are jealous of me? What if my friends don't like me anymore? What if it takes too much time away from my family? There's a lot of hidden why not tos of success, of actually allowing yourself to succeed. And what that means is many people are driving down the road of life with one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake. The gas is your Y2s. You want that thing. So imagine you're driving down the road and you're going towards your destination, but at the same time you're driving down the road with your foot on the gas, unbeknownst to you, unwittingly and unconsciously, your other foot is on the brake. So can you see that that's why so many people feel very frustrated? They're working really, really hard. They've spent a lot of money on all these different how to succeed programs, but yet they still feel stuck. And so just showing them that very little distinction, but an enormously important distinction, really can make a big difference.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think that's amazing. Okay, so let's keep talking about being stuck, because people feel stuck, and it's funny. I think sometimes people will just feel stuck everywhere, and sometimes they'll feel stuck in their personal lives, and sometimes they feel stuck in their business or their relationship or their health. So what is this stuck thing? Is it just that gas and the brakes? Is that the inner conflict?
That's the big part of it. What happens is, Kristen, I got a lot of people through email or whatever just contacting me, and they kept saying, Noah, can you help me? I feel stuck. I feel stuck. And I just kept hearing this over and over. I'm feeling stuck. And also another word I keep hearing all the time is overwhelmed. Overwhelmed. We hear this everywhere now, overwhelmed. And so if you're feeling stuck or feeling overwhelmed, those are two very connected things. But what happened was I started to hear this from so many people around the world that I started to say, okay, well, I got to help people with this. This is a huge problem right now. So what does this really mean? You know, we hear this a lot, and maybe we even say it to ourselves, man, I feel stuck or I feel overwhelmed. But what does that really mean? And so I started to dig and really do some research, and I realized that there's a way of looking at this that we really haven't been shown. And so I want to share it with everybody today. So and let me just back up a little bit, because what we want is something that I call an abundant lifestyle. That's what we all really want. You know, I know we have a lot of entrepreneurs on the line and people who own their own business or want to own their business, maybe quit your job and start your business or grow, get more clients, whatever that might be. And also, you know, folks who want to lose weight or find your soulmate, you know, anything like that. Well, that's what I am referring to as an abundant lifestyle. So what does that really mean? Well, the word abundant really means having more than enough of the things that you really want. And then lifestyle means doing what you want to do when you want to do it most of the time. I'm not saying we get to do everything we want every second, because that's not really true. You know, sometimes we have to do things that aren't so great, like, like when you're flying somewhere and you have to go through security. That's not very fun. But, you know, maybe once you get there, it's pretty fun. But anyway, my point is doing what you want to do most of the time. So what does that really look like? What are the components of an abundant lifestyle? Well, when I broke it down, there are four main components of an abundant lifestyle. And those are time, energy, relationships, and money. Now, if you, picture this in your mind, or maybe even draw it if you're taking notes, picture four circles coming together, right? And the circles are time, energy, relationships, and money. And in the center where those four circles meet, that's where you have an abundant lifestyle. So let me give you a quick exercise that will really help you to determine how stuck or abundant you really are. So let's start with the component of time, all right? So time is really the most valuable resource that we have. Why? Because it's the one resource that can never be replaced. All of Bill Gates' billions can't buy 1 minute of yesterday. So time is really the most important resource. And so what I want you to think about is how many times a day do you catch yourself saying something like this? Boy, I'd really love to blank, but I don't have the time. Or I wish I could do more blank, but I don't have the time, right? So I'd love to take more vacations. I'd love to play golf. Or I'd love to, go on more dates with my spouse or spend more time with my family or just, whatever it is. So how many times a day or week or month do you catch yourself saying that? So that's a really interesting, easy way to determine how stuck or abundant you feel in your use of time. And this is what I share with my coaching clients. I say, listen, rate yourself on a scale from 1 to 10 in your use of time. How abundant do you feel? 1 being I have no time. I'm totally overwhelmed. I feel stuck. And then 10, of course, is I've got all the time I want. So that's number 1. Number 2 is energy. How stuck or abundant do you feel in your use of energy? Now, energy, of course, is enormously important. I mean, imagine if you have all the time in the world, but you don't have any energy. That doesn't do you any good either, does it? So energy is enormously important. So, again, how many times a day or week or month do you catch yourself saying, I'd love to do blank, but I don't have the energy? You know, I get to the end of the day, I'm just exhausted. I just want to sit in front of the TV and flip channels, or, you know, I get home and I'm upset with my spouse and I'm flying off the handle, or whatever it is, you know. So I just don't have the energy. I'm exhausted or overwhelmed. So rate yourself, scale of 1 to 10, in your use of energy. How stuck do you feel versus how abundant you feel in energy. Third component, relationships. Relationships are so important to have an abundant lifestyle. We often don't hear about this or don't think about it. But imagine you have all the time and energy in the world, but you don't have anyone to share it with. Also, imagine, let's say you own a business or want to start a business or grow your business. Well, a business is all about relationships. If you don't believe me, try running a business with no customers. What are your customers but relationships? Last time I checked, you know, orangutans and dolphins and gorillas don't carry credit cards. You know, it has to be with people. And my name is Noah, so I would know these things. But you see my point. It's all about relationships with people. And in a business, you have internal relationships and external relationships. The internal is, you know, your team members, the people you work with, and your external relationships, your customers, your vendors, your suppliers, et cetera. So, I mean, my gosh, the area of relationships is hugely important to live an abundant lifestyle. So rate yourself, scale of 1 to 10. And how many times a day, week, or month do you catch yourself saying something like, I'd love to do blank, but I don't know the right people. I'd love to grow my business. I'd love to get my book published. I'd love to, you know, meet that person or whatever it is, but I don't know the right people, or I don't know the right person. So how stuck do you feel in relationships? And finally, money. Money, of course, is an enormously important part of an abundant lifestyle. And Kristen, what's so ironic and funny about money is, of course, it's a very emotional issue, but we don't want to talk about it. I would argue one of the reasons it is so emotional is because we don't talk about it. I say that money is one of the last, could be the last taboo subject. You know, if you're at a party, for example, you know, and you're talking to somebody, try going up to somebody at a party next time and say, hey, so how much money did you make last year? Yeah. I mean, you would get slapped in the face, you get punched. I mean, we don't know, but I mean, you could talk about sex, you could talk about politics, you could talk about religion, but my gosh, you can't talk about money. You see? Yeah. So it's very emotional. And so one of the problems that I see so many people making is they either over-focus on money or under-focus on money. Meaning, like, for example, one of the greatest lies that we've been told in this industry, and I know you've all heard this, is do what you love and the money will follow. We've all heard that, right? Mm-hmm. No, it won't. It will not. That is so wrong. That is one of the cliches that drives me crazy. And so many people have heard that and really believe it. Do what you love and the money will follow. No, it doesn't. I'll prove it to you. I love going to the library. I just spend all day in the library if I could. That would be that'd be heaven. Well, last time I checked, nobody's going to pay me to go to the library, right? And it doesn't. Why? Because there's no value in it to anybody. So, no, it's not do what you love and the money will follow. It's do what you love, show people how, why, and that. They will benefit from you doing it, and then the money follows. So that piece in the middle is pretty hugely important that we haven't been told. And, you know, a lot of folks, and I know you know this, Crystal, a lot of folks are living paycheck to paycheck, and it's a lousy way to go through life. I lived that way most of my life, and it was awful. You know, that's how I saw my parents live as I was growing up. It just makes it so hard. It's certainly very difficult. It's not impossible to live what could be called an abundant lifestyle when you don't have the money. So looking at those 4 areas, time, energy, relationships, and money, rate yourself 1 to 10. How stuck, how abundant do you feel? And as you said a moment ago, it's very interesting because you can be doing great in one area and be really stuck in another. So it's really important. That's why I give this simple exercise, but it really says a lot.
I love that. And what a great thing for everybody to literally be able to start using right now. When you do that, when you've rated yourself and all of that, then what do you do?
Well, then you just call it a day. That's pretty much it. No, I'm just, well, one of the things that we start to do, certainly I do with my coaching clients, is then we start to work on your inner game and your outer game. Okay, so let me, because you mentioned that earlier, and if I may just, can I talk about that a little bit?
I would love if you would talk about that a little bit.
Okay. All right. So in every area of human endeavor, we see that there is the two components, the inner game and the outer game. What does that really mean? Okay, so your inner game deals with things that happen between your two ears. Okay, these are things that are invisible to the outside world, but yet their effects are very visible. So what does your inner game mean? It really means things like your beliefs, your values, desires, your thoughts, priorities, your decisions. So those are things that happen inside of you. Okay, so that's why we call it the inner game. Now, the outer game are things that are visible to the outside world. So those would be things like habits, lifestyle, actions, behaviors, outcomes, and results. Now, where those two things go together, the inner game and the outer game, that's where you have the thing called success. And when they're not in alignment, that's where you have the thing called non-success. So let me give an example from the world of sports. Let's imagine that you wanted to play a round of golf, okay? And you're like, okay, I'm really excited, and I'm going to go play golf. So you get up to the first tee, and you're so excited, and you're thinking really positive. And you're saying to yourself, man, I know I can hit this ball a mile. I'm a great golfer. I know I can do it. I believe in myself, and I'm feeling great, okay? So your inner game is going really good, right? But let's say you've never taken a golf lesson. You don't know which club to swing, let alone how to swing a club. You really don't know what you're doing. So your outer game is not good at all. So what's going to be the result of your actions? The ball's not going anywhere, right?
Yeah,
or it's going to go 3 feet.
Not good.
Not very good. It's going to be not successful, let's just say, right? And by the way, that describes my golf game really well. No, I'm kidding. But I mean, my point is, the point is that you had a good inner game, but your outer game wasn't very good. Now, let's take the reverse example. So let's take the guys on the PGA Tour, for example. Now, I've had the privilege of actually speaking at the PGA several times, and these are amazing, amazing athletes. I mean, they've hit 10 trillion golf balls. They can do things, that nobody can do. It's just amazing. So their outer game is essentially a 10, right? But so then how do you explain the guy who is on the last hole of the tournament, he's about to win the tournament, he's got a 6-foot putt to win, and he misses the putt? What do we say? We say he choked, right? We've all heard that phrase. He choked. What is that? That's not an outer game issue. That's an inner game issue. See, he couldn't accept the victory. He what's that phrase? He snatched defeat from the jaws of victory, right? And how many times have we seen ourselves do that in life? And we say, oh, my God, how could I blow that? I blew that interview, or I said that silly thing, or I just did that dumb thing. We've all done that. So do you see my point is that when you have the mistake that I see people making is focusing on one or the other, but not putting them together. So, for example, I have a lot of people who come to me, and they're really very emotionally and spiritually evolved. They're thinking positive. They've read all the books. They're doing yoga and meditation and tapping and everything, on the inner game, but yet they're broke. They don't have any money. They're living paycheck to paycheck. Okay, and, this isn't meant to be a criticism. This is meant to just be a mirror and say, are you doing this? So, yes, they've got a great inner game, but their outer game sucks. Similarly, I've worked with, millionaire, multimillionaire clients who were very unhappy. They were overwhelmed. They felt stuck. And so that was, okay, they had a good outer game, but their inner game sucked. So, in fact, I'll give you a perfect example. I was doing a seminar one time in Los Angeles. I was speaking, and I was walking off the stage. I literally just finished speaking. Well, this guy comes up to me. He practically tackles me. And he says, Noah, I want you to coach me. And I said, okay, what's going on here? And he goes, Noah, I'm totally stuck. I'm only making $4 million a year. And, of course, I laughed, and I said, that's funny. You know, a lot of people like to be stuck at $4 million a year. He goes, no, you don't understand. I'm the owner of a software company, and we grew really, really fast to $4 million in revenues. But what's happened is that we have been stuck at $4 million for the past 4 years. We've just been flat and straight, plateaued. And I've tried everything. I've gone to all these different coaches and gurus and people like that, and nothing has worked. And then once I heard you talk about inner game and outer game and your foot on the brake and head trash and all of the things that you teach, he said, I knew that you were the coach I've been looking for. He said, so I want you to coach me. Long story short, I said, okay, I ended up coaching him. I coached him for less than a year, and in that year, Kristen, his company went from being plateaued at $4 million for 4 years to over $20 million in sales in 1 year. Now, what's amazing about that is 90% of the work that we did was on his inner game. I didn't talk about customer service and marketing and sales. All of those are important. You have to do them. But what was amazing was he was really holding himself back because of these inner game issues. Now, some people might be saying, well, yeah, that's great. He's at $4 million. I'm not making $4 million. I'm not making $1 million. I mean, I'm not making anywhere near that. So how does this help me? Look, my point in telling you the story is not about the money. The point is it doesn't matter. The money or the level is irrelevant. The point is you can feel stuck making $25,000 a year. You can feel stuck making $4 million a year. So don't worry about the numbers. The point is, do you feel stuck? If so, look at, is it an inner game issue? Is it an outer game issue, or both?
I love that, too, that whole it's not about the numbers. Stuck is stuck.
Exactly.
Right? So that's okay. So talk to me about this, because this is so fascinating. I love that you did this. Tell us about Affirmations. So this is a totally different thing. I'm not saying affirmations wrong, everybody, by the way. It's literally, it's called Affirmations, and this is something that Noah created that, you say we can use to create a more abundant lifestyle. So can you describe what Affirmations are?
Absolutely. And let's actually back up by talking about that very point that you just said about affirmation, the word we're all used to. Okay. So if you've ever read a self-help book, you know what an affirmation is, right? An affirmation is a statement of something that we want to be true. Okay, that's really what an affirmation is. It's a statement of something that you want to be true. So, for example, a classic affirmation is, I am rich. And you say, I am rich. And what does your brain say?
No, I'm not.
Yeah, right. I mean, exactly. It says, you're full of it, or whatever. It says, no, you're not. Right? Now, listen, so the point is we say these positive things, and we want to believe them, but inside, if we're honest, most of us really don't believe them. Now, what have the traditional teachers told us to do? Well, they very simply said, listen, if you don't believe your affirmations, then just repeat them 1,000 billion, gajillion, bajillion times, right? And then you'll believe them someday, right? That's what we were told. So if you remember back when I was sharing a moment ago about, how I grew up poor and I went to the library and read all these books. Well, every single one of the books that I read told me to use these affirmations, right? I mean, every single one said to do this. So naturally I did it because, well, if these guys said to do it, must be right. So I tried it. I did exactly what they told me to do. I wrote them down. I wrote it in the positive. I put emotion behind it. I did everything they told me. And it never worked. I never got the result that I wanted. In fact, I ended up very frustrated because I've been doing exactly what they told me for like 20 years, and I never got the result that I wanted. So let me take you back to April 1997. By this time, I was a 30-year-old college student. This was my second time in college. I was a religious studies major. I had probably less than $800 to my name. I'd been divorced, and I was living in this college dorm room that was so big, if you stood in the center of the room and put your hands out to either side, you could touch the walls on either side. That's how big the room was. So imagine that was my whole life. Everything I owned was in this tiny little room. So one night in April 1997, I was looking around this tiny little dorm room, and this had everything that I owned in the world. And I looked around, and I realized that I had written all these positive statements, like I am happy, I am rich, I am wealthy, I am good enough. And you know what, Kristen? I looked around, and I admitted something finally that I never wanted to admit before, which is that I didn't believe any of these things. I didn't believe one single statement. I didn't believe a good thing about me. And I looked around my life, and I said, my life pretty much sucks. So what's wrong here? What is missing? And so I went to bed. I was very frustrated, and I woke up the next morning, and I was still frustrated. I was just angry and upset. And anyway, so I got in the shower like any other morning, and then I was still thinking about this stuff. Now, did you ever have those ideas in the shower, you know, that just those aha moments? And
yes.
you know, just you're thinking what it is about the shower, I don't know, but there's just something. The shower fairy comes in and gives you these great ideas. So I was thinking about this very thing, and I started to really think about it. What are we really talking about? Well, we're talking about beliefs. And then I said, well, what is a belief? Well, a belief is a thought. And then I said, well, what is a thought? And I started to ask myself, well, what is human thought? And then I realized that human thought really is the process of asking and searching for answers to questions, not statements, but questions. Let me give you an example. Why is the sky blue? Why is the sky blue? Now, do you know what just happened in your brain?
Yes.
You started to search for the answer, right?
I did.
Even if you don't know the answer, your brain automatically started to search for the answer because I asked the question. In fact, that's when I realized that the human brain is automatically always searching for answers to questions. So I said, wait a second. If the human brain is automatically searching for answers to questions, why are we going around making statements that we don't even believe? Why don't we just cut out the middleman? And I said, well, what would that look like? And then I said, well, let's see. You have this statement or affirmation, I am rich, to which your brain replies, yeah, right. So what would the question be? Why am I so rich? Why am I so rich? Now, I want everyone listening, I want you to write that question down, and I want you to think about that. Why am I so rich? Now, when you ask the question, Kristen, I'll ask you since we're talking, why am I so rich? What starts to happen in your brain?
Starts looking, searching.
Exactly. Now, we all know about the law of sowing and reaping. As you sow, so shall you reap. But what are we sowing? Well, we're sowing seeds of thought. But what are most people doing? Sowing lousy thought seeds. Why am I such a loser? Why am I so fat? Why am I so broke? Why can't I make any more money? Why can't I get anything done? How come so-and-so has more money than me? Why is there more months left at the end of the money? Right? When you ask lousy questions, what do you get? Lousy answers.
Yes,
exactly.
exactly.
That means a lousy life. So I said, wait a second. What if, instead of asking lousy questions that lead to lousy answers and creates a lousy life, what if we flipped the whole thing on its head, started asking empowering questions that lead to phenomenal answers and form a wonderful life? And as I was standing there in the shower, April 1997, I said, holy cow, I think I just invented something. And so I had to give it a name. And the name that I gave it was Affirmations. Not Affirmations, but Affirmations. Affformations. Affirmations. Now, let me just take a moment and share with everybody where that word came from. Now, back in high school, if you hadn't figured it out by now, I was really a geek. I was a geek long before they put the word computer in front of it. In fact, I was such a geek, I didn't have shoulder length hair. I had shoulder width hair. So that was a total chick magnet, as you can imagine. So anyway, as a geek, one of my favorite subjects was Latin. I just love Latin. Well, the word affirmation, the one we're all used to, comes from the Latin word firmare, which means to make firm. Now, the word Affirmations that I invented, and by the way, it's perfectly legitimate to invent a new word. When we have a new way of looking at the universe or a new technology, we often need a new word to describe it. For example, Google, software, computer, internet. These are all very new terms in terms of human history. They've only been around a very short time. Of course, now we use them every single day, but they're very new. There's a new technology. Somebody had to invent a new word to describe it. Well, what I'm sharing with you and what I'm describing is a new technology of the mind. So the word Affirmations comes from the Latin word formare. Formare, F-O-R-M-A-R-E, and which means to form or give shape to. So the question that I often ask my coaching students and ask my clients, I say, what if you're making something firm, but it's in the wrong form? That's called forming a life you don't want, right? Why am I so fat? Why can't I ever lose weight? Why can't I find the right person? Why don't I have any money? You formed it unconsciously, then it became firm, and there is your life. Well, now with Affirmations, for the very first time in human history, we can now take conscious control of the questions we're asking, change the questions, and change your life.
Wow. That differentiation is so powerful because it really makes you go, oh. So
Exactly.
when you talk about, because I want to clarify this because I have my feelings on it, and I know you do too. When we talk about living an abundant lifestyle, what do you mean by that?
Well, as I shared earlier, I really mean having those four components of time, energy, relationships, and money. So let me share a real-life story from one of my clients. One of our clients, her name was Sheila. She is an entrepreneur from California. And she came to one of our seminars and heard me speak about all of this and was very excited. Now, she was, as I mentioned, an entrepreneur. She was making about $5,000 a month in sales. So, doing pretty good. That's, people would be happy with that. But she was, again, she felt like she knew she was capable of a lot more. And she said, no, I've been working so hard. And she told me she spent about $30,000 on all these different programs and products and gurus and everything like that. But again, she was doing about $5,000 a month in sales. Well, she started working with my programs and started, again, with the inner game, outer game, everything that I've shared with you. Well, long story short, in less than 6 months, Sheila had gone from $5,000 a month in sales to over $75,000 a month.
Whoa.
In 1 month sales, yes. So what happened was, what was amazing, she shared with me that the coolest thing, of course, the money was great and exciting, but what she shared with me is, Noah, I'm working less to make $75,000 a month than I was making $5,000 a month. And that, you see my point. So the point is that, yes, it's not possible when people come to me and they say, no, how can I get there? How can I make more money or grow my business or lose weight or, whatever it is that they want to do? I say, well, there's people who are a lot more successful than you, and what do you think they're doing? Do you think they're 100 times smarter than you? That's not possible. Do you think they're working 100 times harder than you? That's not possible. Do you think they've got 100 times the education than you have? Of course not. That's impossible. All of those things are impossible. So what happens once you understand how to use these very subtle little distinctions and make these very simple adjustments in your life and in your thinking, that's when everything starts to come together. Wow.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. And, you know, it's just a matter of really going, wow, I've actually never heard this before. So it's it's just like a little tweak on it all. And is that, you know, if I said to you, okay, so how is this different from the other How to Succeed programs out there? Is it the openness of the questions, you know, all of that, or are there other differences?
I think the main difference, Kristen, is that, you know, when we look at all those How to Succeed programs that are out there, like what Sheila had spent all that money on, what they're doing is they're focusing on one or the other.
I see.
So I was sharing earlier, you know, that's like, okay, let's fix your marketing. Okay, and again, marketing is very important. Or let's fix your sales. Okay, that's important. All of these things are important, but it's really like building a house.
Right.
You know, if you're trying to build a house, and you know, building a business or building, you know, your dream lifestyle, it is like building a house. Imagine if you built your house and you only focused on getting the walls up, and there was no electricity in the walls. I mean, it would be a little cold in there. You know what I mean? It's like, well, we did the walls. Look at the walls. They look great. Yeah? Okay, try plugging in a lamp. You know what I'm saying? So the point is that is, you know, your house, your body has an inner game and an outer game. Your house has an inner game. As I mentioned, almost anything we can look at in the human realm has this inner and outer component. So that's why I think, I mean, I would argue that that's why so many people, and you know, just over the last few years, just to share with you, you know, my clients and I have added over $55 million in new revenues using my formula. That's why many people refer to it as my, you know, Noah's $55 million formula, because just in the last few years, it's just that's what we've been able to add using these very simple and very, very doable little distinctions.
And this formula, this is the quote-unquote think like a millionaire in less than 5 minutes a day formula, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what is that? Is that the Affirmations, or is there more to it? You know, give us.
Yeah. The Affirmations system is really the foundation of your inner game. In other words, most people are walking around unknowingly and unwittingly asking very disempowering questions. Why am I so broke? Why am I so stupid? How come nothing ever worked out for me? When you ask those questions, you're going to form the answer to those questions and thereby form a life you don't want. So the first thing that we do when people come to us is I show them how to use this affirmation system. And it's a very, very step-by-step, you know, a very simple and profound way to change your thinking and change your life. Just as another example, we had another client named Mike, who's a filmmaker, and he came to one of our programs, and he was working about 60, 70-hour weeks. He'd made about the same for literally the past 10 years. So his income, talk about plateaued. For 10 years it was really the same. Well, he came to our program. He learned how to change the questions, how to align his inner and outer game. What happened was he doubled his income in 90 days, and then he doubled it again in the next 90 days. So he literally doubled it and then doubled the double, all in less than 6 months. I mean, so you see my point? It's literally, imagine you're driving down the road with one foot on the brake. Yeah. And then someone shows you how to get your foot off the brake. Again, you're not doing this on purpose. Nobody does. Nobody holds himself back on purpose. That's why I shared earlier about the subconscious mind. There's so many things that you're holding yourself back from, but if you can't see them, you can't change them. So that's why all of this work, one of the things that it does is it brings it to the surface. Then you can look at it and go, oh, my gosh, I didn't even know I was doing that. Then you let it go, and you just get there so much faster and easier.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you to share a couple more stories. You've already shared some amazing success stories and turnarounds with us, but do you have any others that you can think of, like one or two more, just because I think it really helps people go, wow, okay, that's what's possible here.
Absolutely. Well, one of our clients named George, and he's a business owner from Texas. When he came to us, he was working for someone else. He was working about 70 to 80-hour weeks. I mean, really, really working very, very hard. He was way undervaluing time, and literally, according to him, now this is his words, he was working like a slave. That's his words. And I know a lot of people probably identify with that. So when, he went through the program and he really got focused. George is, he's a really hard worker, and he really got focused. He definitely focused on the inner game and outer game, aligning those two things. Long story short, today he has his own business. He's on track for over $6 million in revenues this year. He shared with me that now he frequently has $20,000 days, and that's, I didn't say that wrong, $20,000 days. And he also used this exact same process to meet and marry the love of his life. So he found the woman of his dreams using the same exact system. And so did I, by the way. My beautiful wife, Babette, is a manifestation of my using these affirmations and learning how to change the questions that I was asking.
Wow. Okay. So cool. So cool. I love this because this is one of those things you already shared with us, taking us through the whole exercise of how we can sort of rate where we are with things and see where we've got our foot on the gas and the brake simultaneously. I mean, that's so, so helpful. There's so much more, obviously, so that's why I did ask you to put together a special offer, and you did, which is very, very cool of you. So what I'm going to do, everyone, I highly encourage you. I'm going to give you the link. Go to Noah's special offer right now, and he's going to walk us through it so you can experience it for yourself. So the link is www.manifesteverythingnow.com/peace. That's PIECE. As in missing puzzle piece. Again, that's www.manifesteverythingnow.com/peace, spelled PIECE. And Noah, I'll let you take it from here and let us know what we'll find there.
Absolutely. Well, this is my affirmation system, and this is my most popular abundance training program of all time. Now, this is a digital home study course, so you can, even if it's 2 a.m. right now where you are, you can start studying and changing your life using affirmations or empowering questions in the next 5 minutes. So what this program does is, first of all, it's going to show you exactly where you are stuck in your thinking, because I'm going to show you exactly how your mind works and where your gap is between your thinking of what you want versus what you're currently manifesting. You're currently manifesting at the level you believe you can. Everybody is. So imagine if you just changed that level of belief, but you did it directly instead of trying to hammer your head using statements that most people don't believe. You open your mind using these empowering questions. That's one of the reasons we've seen so many of these incredible, incredible gains and increases in such a short amount of time. So you'll really understand how to overcome setbacks and depression in 4 steps. The questions you should ask and the questions you should never ask. And, it's really about, this isn't just about money. I know I've shared stories about money, and, I don't want people to think it's only about money, because it isn't. I mean, of course, as I mentioned, money is one of the 4 components of an abundant lifestyle, so of course it's important. However, in my view, this is really about legacy. That's what this whole program is about. It's about legacy. What kind of a legacy are you going to leave for your children and your grandchildren and for the world? Right now, we're at a huge tipping point in the planet. I mean, we all know this. And so what are we going to do to change the thinking of the planet? Well, it starts in each one of us. So this is about changing your thinking, which is going to change your behavior, which will change your habits, which will change your results, which will then change the world. So we've delivered this. I'm just really proud of this program because we get so much feedback about this that literally it's changed people's lives. So, you can read it. I don't want to go through the whole thing because, frankly, there's a lot. It's a very robust, it's a wonderful, complete program. You've got videos. You've got MP3 audios. You've got the complete Affirmations guidebook, which you can download and print out and literally fill in the blanks. I just want to highlight one portion here, or one component, which is what I call my Attract More Money Affirm audio. Now, what an Affirm audio is, have you ever used hypnosis CDs? Well, Affirm audios, they do the same thing, but with one crucial difference. Instead of fighting your subconscious mind, Affirm audios inject money-attracting thoughts directly into your subconscious mind, while automatically destroying the money-killing thoughts and the abundance-killing thoughts that you don't know you're carrying around right now. It's like you have a virus, an abundance virus, right? Because that's what we're all socialized to. This is just, they're in the planetary consciousness. So the point is, we've got to destroy those at the level of your subconscious. It's just hard to get in there. So that's what Affirm audios do. Just to give a quick example, I got 2 emails recently, one from a fellow named Robert in Chicago and one from a guy named Chris in Canada, and they both told me that they had both secured their first $1 million deal using just these Affirm audios. They'd never been able to do $1 million deal before, and just by changing the subconscious questions they were asking. So just that one part alone literally can change your life. You've got videos about overcoming your financial head trash, overcoming the fear of rejection, different special reports. Another thing I'd just like to highlight real quick here is you get 2 Q&A calls with me, recordings of those. People, my coaching clients, paid thousands of dollars to be on these calls, but you get them free, and you also get access to my private online mastermind. And what that means is, if you've ever, have you ever bought a program, let's say online or from somebody, and then you had questions and there was nobody to talk to? Well, that won't happen here. I've been doing this since 1997. We have the best customer service in the industry. We pride ourselves on that, and we have real people here that will help you. And so, if you have questions, you can be on the mastermind or ask on the forum. I'm very active on the forum. There are hundreds and hundreds of informers all around the world who are very active on the mastermind. So, again, if you have questions, if you need help, we're here for you. So that's what I just want to share with you, that this program really will help you to, number one, identify exactly what's stopping you from manifesting that more abundant lifestyle, and then secondly, give you the steps to manifest a more abundant lifestyle in the next 28 days or less.
Wow, okay, so that's awesome. So let me ask you this. The people, when they start using this, what could they expect to start experiencing literally like right away?
Well, first of all, you're going to see exactly where you're stuck. Most people are running around with some vague sense of, I feel overwhelmed, I feel stuck, I don't know what to do, I don't know what, and really they say, the number one thing I hear, Kristen, is I don't know where to start. So just like building your house, we give you the blueprint. Here's where you start. You got to dig the hole. Then you pour the cement. Then you put the frame up. I mean, it's very, very step by step. I've been doing this, as I mentioned, since 1997. I've taught tens of thousands of people around the world, so it's totally a system. It's a formula. You plug it in, and it will work. So that's absolutely immediately. And by the way, we have kids who love this. We have, 7-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 13-year-olds, teenagers who absolutely love affirmations. So if you're a mom or a dad, you have kids, share these affirmations with them. We've had stories that I've had moms tell me that their kids that turned their grades around, they started sleeping better, they got healthier, they lost weight. It literally brought the family, it changed their family's lives. So it's just, as I mentioned, it's not just about the money, although of course money is important, it's really about legacy.
What an amazing thing, to be able to share this with people who are, kids. Can you imagine if you had this back when you were a kid?
Yes.
Really, really incredible.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's amazing. Okay, so great, everyone. That link again is www.manifesteverythingnow.com/peace, spelled PIECE. Again, go to manifesteverythingnow.com/peace, spelled PIECE. Noah, you've been amazing. I just love your energy. As I said before, I love your sense of humor. You really just help us sort of lighten up how we're looking at all of this being stuck thing so that it feels like, oh, okay, good. I can be unstuck. I can take my foot off the brakes and just have it on the gas. That's exciting. So thank you for everything you've shared with us today. You've just been fantastic.
It's my pleasure, Kristen. Thank you for having me today.
Absolutely. And everyone, thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. You're extraordinary. I love being able to share this time with you. And until the next time, keep manifesting. Bye-bye, everyone. 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 Keep